morning. Well, for me it's morning. So we had some rain last night, yesterday, and it was the first time I had put down the woven fabric weed barrier, and I'm told that this stuff drains, so we shouldn't have a whole lot of water sitting on top of it. Now, where I put it in my garden is on a little bitty hill, slight hill, but I'm told that the fabric allows the water to drain through it so that the plants get watered and things like that. Now, it may make a difference when we put holes in it to put the plants in, but from what I see, the water draining through the fabric is not really what's happening. So it looks to me like the water sits on top of the fabric. Maybe some of it drained through, but I can see, especially in indentations where I have walked, the water is clearly not soaking through. The water is sitting on top and is not soaking through. So I don't know if that's going to be an issue when it comes time to actually have the garden in place. If the water is not going to be able to get through to my plants, and if I'm going to have to put in a drip irrigation system or a tape system or what. I'm not sure how that's going to work. I just tried something and I wanted to see what it would do. So I actually touched the fabric and just to see what would happen. And it's interesting that when you touch the fabric, you can put a little bit of pressure on it to where it's touching the ground beneath. It seems to actually drain. So maybe it's just that it's a surface tension thing, and maybe once it wears in, maybe the sun wears it in just a little bit or whatever, that the ground cover will actually work. Okay, so for example, I've got little droplets of water and I've got this puddle here, and if I press down just a little bit, you can see how the water drains through. So it touches the ground and it drains through. Let's see what it does with this big piece. So as it gets stretched out a little bit, it touches the surface of the earth underneath it. It does appear to drain through. So maybe I just need to be a little bit more patient with it. I know gardening and patience, they go together. And in the past, I'm not been very good at either one. I'm guessing I'll give it a little bit of time for where this is day one. I'm hoping to get some planting done today, and that should be fun. We'll get the weed burner out, and that'll cut perfect circles in the cloth that we can then plant our plants in and some of our seedlings. So we'll see how things go.
This is green. And this is green.
You know what? I'm gonna put it on the stripe because so we can leave some of this open. I say we just put them in a row, since we'll be going over by the. That's how it works. We don't have
a mini shovel?
Nope.
We used to.
don't know what happened to it. Did it break?
Probably. We have the little mini fork over there, if that would be easier than that.
Well, I thought about that. That's why I brought this.
Or even the little blue fork.
That's why I brought this. I'm thinking. So there's that. There's the garden planted. At least what we're going to plant for now. And we'll see how that goes. Tomatoes, squash, well, tomatoes, cucumber, squash, and down at the end, habanero and jalapeno peppers. Since we're from Texas, we like our peppers. Now on the peppers, we may have to take some makeshift greenhouses. Some people put domes over them and things like that to get it hotter. I might just have to make a little greenhouse down there, or we'll just see how they go in Virginia. Not really recommended to grow peppers as much unless you cover them with something to keep them so they can get warm. So we'll get traditional tomato cages for the tomatoes up here. I'll build an A-frame trellis for the cucumbers and probably for the squash so they can get up off the ground. Maybe I'll try 2 of them on a trellis and 2 of them not, just to see what happens and see what the differences is. Alright, so there you go, Flaming Eyeball Farms. In fact, that's one of the suggestions that came out. Why not just tie all my channels together? So we may end up calling this Flaming Eyeball Farms. And it's just, or Flaming Eyeball Farm, since there's only one and it's a very small one. Nothing more than a backyard chicken coop in a garden. Anyway, we'll see where it goes from here. Hi, big dog. All right, well, we're into the second weekend of May in 2020 here in the Richmond, Virginia area, and we got a light freeze last night. It's May 9th today, and we got a light freeze. So I'm hoping that it didn't damage all of my plants. All of the chickens survived the night and things like that, but we got just a touch of frost last night, and it made the steps slippery and things like that. When I came out here to let the chickens out this morning, I nearly fell down the stairs because I didn't realize there was just the tiniest amount of frost on the steps. So I did look at the plants and they looked okay. My dog is stalking the chickens. She does this every day. But she's a hunting dog, so it's to be expected. Tonight is actually an expected potential freeze, and so I'm going to cover these tonight. Now, one of the things that I also discovered about this fabric is that I probably didn't get the right size staples. I got the ones from Lowe's, and I think they're what, about 4 inches or so maybe, and I probably need to go online and order the ones that are like 8 or 9 inches. I know I was trying to support the local businesses and stuff and not go give more money to Bezos, but I can't find these anywhere. Maybe Tractor Supply or maybe somebody else has some that are longer, but I've noticed that we had some really strong winds yesterday, and although the fabric did not come up where I had it stapled down with the staples that were like this, it tended to do this, where it would lift up a little bit. I'm not sure if you can see that. So they would lift up a little bit, which would potentially allow the wind to get under them and pull them up. So I've had to come out and push them all back down in, but this size maybe too small. Although it worked on the chicken wire and things like that in the yard where I didn't have the ground tilled, where I had this chicken wire all around the outside, I was able to staple it down out there, and it worked good where I didn't have the ground tilled. I had the ground tilled here in the garden, and so maybe it's because the ground was loose and that kind of stuff. So anyway, so far the weed barrier seems to be working good. However, it's hard to tell because if you look at the places where I've tilled, there's not actually much growing back in anyway right now. So when this fills in, we'll see what that does. A couple of the chickens out of their house. The dog going crazy. She's a hunting dog. I tell you one thing for sure. My wife used to cut my hair, and I may have to force her to cut my hair again. But if this COVID thing doesn't end quickly, she's gonna have to cut my hair because it's starting to drive me nuts.